Springboks potentially not in the Rugby Championship. This story, it's been going around a bit, but it's gotten a little bit more real. Anyway, with a tweet from journalist Martin Gillingham. I'll read that out in a second. But yeah, I believe that's the source for all this hubbub, and we haven't had any official word as yet. I generally don't like doing these speculative ones that the mainstream media likes to chuck our way seemingly every other day. But I am kind of actually keen to get some of your guys' thoughts, especially Springbok fans and also fans of the other Rugby Championship teams, as to where you would stand on seeing both the Pumas and the Springboks take part in the Rugby Championship. Because obviously the New Zealanders have had Super Rugby Aotearoa, they've had North v South, and they've just had a first Bledisloe game. The Aussies have had Super Rugby AU, and they've had a first Bledisloe game. So the players should all be a lot more battle-hardened and ready for Test match football than the South Africans and the Pumas. So, yeah, I'll get to this tweet. So, Springboks out of the Rugby Championship. Martin Gillingham says on Twitter, where all reliable news comes from, South African Rugby expected to announce in the coming days the Springboks are withdrawing from the Rugby Championship. Their first test is supposed to be against Argentina on November 7th. Rassie Erasmus will cite player welfare as the reason. That's what he's put in his tweet. So, I don't know, how much evidence do you kind of take that as? The mainstream media certainly picked up on it as being potentially very true. Jake White has been asked a question after the Bulls game against the Griquas the other day, and he basically said if he was the Springboks coach, which he used to be, that he would be asking South African Rugby to get him out of the competition, basically. He wouldn't want his team to be going in essentially underdone against the likes of the All Blacks and the Wallabies. But he also did mention that the financial side of things, the costs of not going for South Africa, for not getting that kind of lucrative, sweet TV money and whatnot, may force South African Rugby's hand. So Jake White seems to think from what he said in his post-match interview that it's more likely to go, but if he was coach, he'd rather it didn't happen. Whereas this tweet from Martin Gillingham seems to pretty much say straight up that it is coming. So, yeah, we will have to wait and see how that one goes. Now, where this kind of becomes a curious one for me is because obviously the Springboks are the world champions. They haven't played a game since the Rugby World Cup final. When they did play the Springbok Green and Springbok Gold, expectations were pretty high, and it's a world champion team. The fact that these guys had no rugby for quite some time, and a lot of the guys who were in that Rugby World Cup final were also abroad, maybe needs to be taken into account a bit. But yeah, how bad would it be if the Springboks joined the Rugby Championship underdone and didn't live up to the expectations of a world champion? Would that be more damaging to the support of the Springboks, or would fans be reasonable? I would say All Blacks fans, generally, we're not the most reasonable people at times. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, actually pretty good. In more recent years, sometimes pretty bloody one-eyed. We still hold a grudge for a lot of things. Maybe that's just a sports fan thing in general, not particular to any one country. But if the Springboks win and got done, people would be pretty upset. So maybe that's something to consider. If you are a Springboks fan, would you rather your team go because you just want to see them play? You don't care if the expectations are low and they're not going to have as much game time. Do you kind of hold the faith that even without that game time, they can still pick up and defend their title as Rugby Championship champions as well? Is the money, do you think, a deciding factor? Should they just send a youthful squad, an inexperienced squad, just to blood some guys in the knowledge that they're probably not going to get a good result? There's plenty of ways you can look at this, and Rassie is about as clever as it comes. So he'll have a plan, I'm sure. Argentina as well. Argentina's already there. The majority of their squad is already in Australia. These guys haven't had any game time. They've had a camp in Uruguay for weeks, maybe months, at least weeks. But yeah, they're going to be in the same boat. So it is going to be an interesting one to watch as to whether Mr. Gillingham is correct or not, whether he's got reliable sources. Plenty of times, I should say, because the media's just jumped on all this, like, without hesitation. But the media has been wrong about plenty of stuff, plenty of times, by getting it from inside sources which turn out to be a load of old nonsense. So, yeah, I would say take this with a grain of salt until you get kind of the official word. But more importantly, I guess, for mine is All Blacks fans, would you rather see the Springboks go no matter what? Would you rather they wait for next year when they're more likely to be kind of match ready? Likewise, Springboks fans, it's just your team. You know, would you rather these guys be going no matter what? Or do you think they're better off sitting it out and financial costs be damned? But how it would further affect the Sanzar relationship if the Springboks pulled out, that's another one. But anyway, we'll just see what happens. I am keen to get your guys' thoughts. Also, Pumas fans, how do you feel about your guys' chances? I know when I looked at the squad the other day, some people are pretty resigned to their team being on the wrong end of some scorelines this rugby championship as well. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, you guys take care. Do let me know your thoughts. And, yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.